Is this the end of NATO, the EU, and globalization? Now, the world as we've known it is ending, and what we're going into is something you and I haven't lived through before. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the end of globalization, global cooperation, free global trade, the end of the European Union, and even maybe the end of NATO. Now, I know, this is a big claim, but the pieces are being laid out. We're heading down the track without any sign of stopping or reversing, but what does all this mean? Well, in this video, I'm going to break it all down. How this current world order we've all known got started, what its purpose was, how right on cue events about 5 years ago put the wheels in motion to change the world order, how it's escalating faster and faster, what this means if you're in Europe, the US, or other parts of the world, what this means for our money, buying power, and quality of life, and more. So let's go. All right, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss, and of course I make these videos so you can change the way you think about money. Almost everything you've learned is wrong, and I want to help you see through all of this. Now, the world's changing rapidly. I talk about this all the time into what I call the decentralized revolution. The world is breaking apart, and it's important to understand what's going to happen to inflation. What are central banks going to do? What's going to happen to my home, my retirement account, my savings, and things like that. So I want to break this down for you. And don't worry, we're going to be okay. We're all going to navigate this together as long as you're paying attention, which of course you are, which is why you're here on the channel watching. All right, so the new globalization, what am I talking about? Well, like a pendulum swinging back and forth, the world swings towards centralization and then back to decentralization. We've been on this path of centralization. NATO, speaking about NATO, it was formed around 1947, really at the Treaty of Dunkirk. And so after the end of the Second World War, basically the nations of the world kind of got together, created this global alliance that was really meant to, protect everybody. And if they could protect everybody, then everybody could be free to go produce. All right. When you're worried about your life, you're not really good at producing more goods and services. And so with this global protection, you could have more global cooperation, more trade, then you could have more specialization. So nations do what they're best at. And through trade and through specialization, the world had massive advancement, as you know. Now, most of it was meant to protect itself from what? Some of it each other, mostly from the USSR at the time, which was the biggest threat. China wasn't really a player at all, and so it was really about the USSR. And then it kind of led towards the establishment of the European Union, which of course came later, but it started around that time. All right, so you can kind of get an idea of how it got started. But things start changing, right? Just because this is the way we've always known things doesn't mean that's how they are. Now, we know on an 80-year time frame, an 80-year cycle, we go through what's called a regime change or political revolution cycle. So 1940 till 2020 puts us right about there. And it really kicked off right around 2016, 2017. I said that Brexit, the election of Donald Trump, those were both signs of this new cycle starting. And really, Trump is what helped kick this off. What he kicked off was the beginning of these trade wars. I've talked a lot where I don't really think the wars of the future are kinetic or hot wars or shooting wars, although over in Russia, Ukraine, we are seeing that. But for the most part, I don't think we'll have that big world war like we did, in World War II. It's really more war over information and money. And so this economic war really got kicked into overdrive when President Trump took over. Of course, he wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. And so he came in and said, hey, the U.S. has horrible deals with everybody, and I want to go renegotiate those deals, which is exactly what he did. You could see when he used to tweet all the time, he put out a tweet right here, when a country, USA, is losing many billions of dollars, I could just hear him in his voice saying that, on trade with virtually every country it does business with, trade wars are good. So, hey, U.S. has horrible deals. We're losing money with every single country. So trade wars are good and easy to win. Example, when we're down $100 billion with a certain country and they get cute, then we just don't trade anymore and then we win. It's that easy, right? And so he's like, hey, look, this is an easy one for me to win. I'm used to being in boardrooms with sharks. He said, I can make this really, really easy. And so he did. He went to battle with President Xi, started putting in this Chinese tariffs, and then they wanted to counter back. And then the whole world, once you pull one little thread, when the whole world's connected like that, then it starts to happen all over the place. In Europe, they didn't like it very much. And they thought that Trump would be bad and Biden would be good. Biden would come in and fix things, they said. But now the EU leaders accuse Biden of disloyal to his allies. He says that it was clear that Trump was clear about disliking Europe. They knew what they were going to get with Trump. But with Biden, they thought it would go back to normal, but it hasn't. So let's look at how things have continued and what this means for us. All right, then we can fast forward and we'll start looking at the Russian sanctions and what's happening here. Now, it's clear cut, right? Russia bad, invade Putin, the whole world sanction him. Is that really what's going on, or is this part of the economic war? Is it really the world breaking apart, which started in China and has now continued? Let's take a look at that. All right, so we start slapping sanctions. The US slaps sanctions, NATO slaps sanctions. It seems like most of the world is, but the reality is most of the world's not. But the G7 for sure, right? And it's meant to harm Russia. So we're not going to give any money to Russia. We're not going to buy or sell anything with them. And so we're really going to hurt them, right? Is that the case? So, we in the United States, we hear the propaganda, the gaslighting all the time that the gas prices, the Putin price hike, it's all because of what Putin's doing. But what we can see is that since we went to war, so right here is the date where Russia invaded Ukraine, and this is the price of oil. So the price of oil was here, and what we can see is that the price of oil went all the way up and has now kind of come all the way back down. So we're basically back to where we were at the start. But oil prices were high this whole time. Now, if Russia's main exports were oil and natural gas, and the price of oil was this high the whole time, then who came out ahead? The buyers of the high-priced oil or the sellers of the high-priced oil? I think you can figure that one out. And it wasn't just oil. We have natural gas as well. So the same thing for natural gas for Europe. Right here is where Russia started going into Ukraine. And now we can see we're right here. So I think we're somewhere about, $24 on natural gas at that point. But again, natural gas has been this much higher, and who benefits from high prices? The seller or the buyer? And I think you understand that metric. So who's it been tough by? As a matter of fact, I'll just spell it out for you. Russia has earned $158 billion from oil and gas since the start of the war. They've made an extra $158 billion, but for everybody else in Europe, it's cost them more money. Now we can see here, it says here's how sanctions on Russia will actually cost you more money. So it's costing us all a lot more money. And Europe now is facing economic, social collapse. So it's not just costing a lot of money. They're having a social collapse and massive social unrest that's starting over in Europe. So what's the cost? Was this tougher on Putin? Or was it tougher on the US? Or was it tougher on the EU? Are you starting to see the picture? Let's keep digging in. All right, the US decides to step it up, right? So we started squeezing the trade wars over in China, then we start squeezing the trade wars over in Europe. Now, if you understand geopolitics, which I don't claim to be an expert, but I have spent a lot of time studying it, if you go back through history, you can see that the goal has always been, if you're playing a game of three-card poker, the goal is to make sure the other two opponents don't team up against you. And one of the goals of geopolitics has always been trying to keep Russia and Germany apart from each other. If you have German manufacturing and cheap Russian energy and commodities, that's a really good match. So let's keep those two apart, right? And we know that Russia had a pipeline selling gas directly to Germany. And then we know that pipeline blew up. Now, we don't know who blew it up. We have all kinds of speculation. I made a video about it. You can go check it out. We'll link it right up here if you want to go watch that video. But we don't know. But we do know motivations. Like, why would Russia want to blow up the pipeline? Because they want to sell their gas, right? So why would they want to blow up? And why would Germany want to blow it up? Because they want to buy the gas. They need the gas. So it probably wasn't either one of them. It would have been somebody else that could have done that. Now, who could have done that? There's only a few other countries that probably have the capabilities to do that. I'm not going to throw out more conspiracy theories. You can do the deduction there. But what we do know is now Germany needs gas. And who has stepped up to sell that gas? Well, the US. The United States has been selling gas at 4 times the profit. And we can see now that Europe is getting pretty pissed off about that. Europe accuses the US of profiting from war. The EU officials attacked Joe Biden over sky-high gas prices and weapons sales and trade. So now the EU is saying, wait a minute, you guys are profiting from this. You're profiting from the sky-high gas prices, from weapons, everything else, and it's all the political leaders in Europe, including France, France has kind of been stepping up to take the lead over there in Europe. Emmanuel Macron slams U.S. for selling gas at higher prices, calls it a double standard. He says, as Europe reeled under a severe energy crisis, Macron slammed the United States for selling gas for much higher prices. And we can see here, if we want to break that down a little bit, the United States is selling gas for 3 to 4 times higher than the domestic rates. Macron said the U.S. made policies, quote, left Europe with no option other than paying the demanded price. Sort of like blackmail. We took away all the other options. We have no choice but to pay the demanded price. Macron has been facing tough responses from his citizens who have been demanding, a respite from the increasing energy policies. Civil unrest, the people aren't happy, they're voicing their concerns. Gas exports to the U.S. natural gas exports to France increased 421%. They increased 400% in price, and they increased in volume by 400% during the first 8 months of this year. Surprise, surprise. So we'll go ahead and sell that to you. So who really is suffering here? And as these high prices continue to get higher and higher, things just continue to escalate. Now we're starting to see the EU is in a big series of unrest. We're seeing protests happening all over the place. The people aren't happy in France. They're demanding respite, it said. German anger spills over as countries balk at gas sharing deals. These are horrible deals you're giving us. What happened to our cheap energy? Now you're forcing us to pay 4 times more for gas. These are horrible deals, right? The people aren't happy about it. On top of that, Germany isn't able to compete anymore. Remember, Germany is the manufacturing center. They've been the economic engine of Europe. But if they can't afford energy or don't have enough energy, then how do they manufacture? What good is an engine without gas? And the answer is not good at all. So now they're having to shut all their manufacturing down, shut their factories down. Germany is at risk of deindustrialization. So the whole world went through an industrialization process when they built out machines and factories and electricity and things like that. And now the world is going backwards, and Germany is actually deindustrializing. It says here, a co-leader from Germany's SPD party said that certain key players in Germany's crucial industries were already hinting they were ready to relocate to the U.S. So the big companies in Germany that are responsible for the manufacturing, that provide, of course, taxes and growth and jobs and all those things, now they can't afford to operate there, so now they're thinking about relocating to the U.S. Germany is deindustrializing. Now, we can see, it continues here. It says, is Washington still our ally? The EU accuses the U.S. of profiteering. Diplomats moan Biden's green subsidies. So now it even goes into other things. Biden's green subsidies. Is that an attack on Europe? It says right here they are. It means European businesses are relocating to U.S. So part of Biden's subsidy plan under the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, they look at it as another attack on them. And now it's forcing other businesses to start relocating to the U.S. The Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, and its quote-unquote Buy American provisions could kneecap several European countries over the next year. Could kneecap them, could take them out. All right, you're starting to see what's happening. On top of that, since we've had NATO, since we've had the UN, we've had a bunch of alliances. We have the EU's top leaders on Monday bluntly accused Joe Biden of disloyalty. Bluntly accused him of disloyalty to the Transatlantic Alliance. So these alliances have been around for a long time for global peace, global cooperation. Now he's disloyal to the alliance. He misled France, or, he lied, and other European partners in forging a new strategic tie-up with the UK and Australia in the Indo-Pacific. So he went against one alliance and formed another alliance. The election was celebrated across Europe as an opportunity to rejuvenate ties, because Trump supposedly was harsh on him. They thought Biden would rejuvenate after the 4 years of Trump, but it didn't work out to be that case. At least with Trump, they knew what they got. Now with Biden, they seem to be getting stabbed in the back. It says here that Australia canceled a blockbuster contract to buy French submarines. So they screwed France over, is basically what happened. The elementary principles for an alliance are loyalty and transparency. Surprise, surprise. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen said she called the treatment of France unacceptable. So you can see Germany's not very happy. France isn't very happy. These are kind of the leaders of the European Union. We can see that the people aren't happy. So what's going to happen? Well, we can see here that this deal to prevent a transatlantic trade war over electric vehicles is kind of what it started. U.S. legislation that encourages a consumer via tax credits to buy American when it comes to choosing an electric car. So what they're saying is that this IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, allows Americans to get tax credits if they buy American. But the problem is, what about the treaties? What about buying from European people? Now that's all over. They call this protectionist measures, and they look at this combative. All right, now I know a lot of this is probably new information for you if you're not paying attention on a regular basis. And maybe I'm connecting dots that don't need to be connected. So we can leave some kind of opinion on the side and we're just looking at the facts. So if we just look at the facts, I think the record is pretty clear, right? We can see that global trade is ending. It just is, right? It's been broken apart. Why? We don't necessarily know the motives. Was this on purpose? Was it intentional? We don't know. But what we do know is that it's happening. What we do know is that this bill, the IRA, was pushed through. What we do know is that France and Germany look at it as combative. What we do know is that for whatever reason, the Russia-Ukraine situation and the gas pipeline blew up. For whatever reason, we do know that now Germany doesn't have gas. And because they don't have gas, their energy prices are too high, and now companies are leaving Germany and they're deindustrializing. Like, those are facts, okay? We do know that. Why? We may never know. And it doesn't really matter, okay? What we do know is that the way the world is put together, the globalization is ending, all right? We're moving towards much more regional trade. So like in the United States, the goal is to re-onshore all this thing, like the CHIPS Act. So we're bringing all the chip manufacturing back to the United States. So we're moving back to regional trade. Now Germany and France are starting to partner together. And now because the US is having these protectionist measures, now they want to have these measures. So now they want to start building in German-made or French-made. And so we're going to start to see much more regional trade happen, all right? Why is all this happening? Doesn't really matter. The fact is that it's happening. You can see here, Germany and France join forces against Biden. So now Germany and France want to join each other against the United States. The EU's top economies leave behind their recent tensions to push for EU action, is what it says. And then, you know, it seems as the US is trying to fight China, Europe takes China's side. It's not good. We can see here, how are they taking their side? Well, we can see the country which the EU has so strongly condemned, China, for years over alleged violations of human rights, has in recent months begun to deepen ties with Beijing. For instance, Renault, car manufacturer, so remember, under the IRA, they get tax credits, Americans will get tax credits for buying American-made cars. Now we're talking about European cars, is joining forces with Geely, a Chinese multinational automotive company. Chinese investors are purchasing a part of the strategic Hamburg port, and Chinese companies have an announcement, 3 major new battery factories in Europe. So the US is giving Americans tax credit for buying American EV vehicles and American batteries made with American companies. And here they're partnering with China to allow China to come in and invest in their country. So you can start to see how this is shaping up. And remember, it doesn't really matter what the real motives are behind it. It just matters what's happening. We can look at the facts. And you know, I've been talking about this for a while. We'll link, I have a whole playlist up here on 3 revolutionary cycles that are converging, 3 different time frames, 250-year political revolution cycle, an 80-year financial revolution cycle, and a 50-year technological revolution cycle are all 3 converging right here, which is why the world is going crazy, which is why this is breaking apart. Now, why does this matter? Because I've been stating that I think that inflation might be some of the lowest we'll see. All right, so inflation goes up and down, but it's only going to go higher. The world will continue to break apart. What does that mean for us? It means that we're going to have, unfortunately, more turbulence ahead. If you want to know more about that, go watch the playlist on 3 revolutionary cycles. I've gone long, so I'm going to end it right there. Let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I always like to hear from you. Ask me questions. I'll try to respond to them. And oh yeah, subscribe to that channel while you're at it. And that's what I got. To your success. I'm out.